Good morning, everyone. I am here to tell you about a small topic, Java input output, which is there in your syllabus. Before we go ahead with the further slides, I would like you all to recall that during the object oriented programming lab, you did various Java code involving has a relationship, is a relationship, wherein you declared a number of classes. Then, in the test class, you created the objects of those classes. You called some methods on the objects, and then you displayed some results. Then, eventually, when the lab was over, you closed the applications. So, whatever were the results which were displayed on the console, what happened to those results? All those results were destroyed. I mean, whatever changes you made in the object properties, all those changes were destroyed. I would say the objects were destroyed. Now, there will be situations wherein you will be handling an enterprise level Java application where you will get inputs from the user through keyboard, through mouse clicks. There might be some input files which are stored at one or the other location, maybe on the same desktop where the application is running, or maybe on a remote machine where the application is not running, but you should be able to connect to the remote machine for capturing the input. So, this way, the input to a Java application can come from many resources. That input will be processed in the application and you will get the output. The output will be displayed maybe on a console, or the output will be stored in a file, which is the output file, or the output could be stored in a database table. That is, the destinations can be many where you intend to store the process data permanently. That is, even if the application is closed, you should be able to access the data which is stored in some or the other destination permanently. So, for such situations, you will be using Java input output. Like any other what you can say topic in Java, there were some ready-made classes like for exception handling or for collections. Even here, for managing the input and output which is required for Java application, you will have a package. There is a package which is called as Java Input Output Package, which encapsulates the classes required to interact with user inputs from various sources and display or store the outputs generated from the application. Java uses a concept of stream, that is a logical connection from input sources to application and from application to the destinations. Stream is a sequence of data which can be in the form of binary data or it can be in the form of character data. So, based on whether the data which is transmitted or data which is captured in the application is in a binary form or the data which is captured in the application is in a character form, the type of stream or the available classes are going to differ. So let's have a schematic. You have on the left hand side certain sources. One source could be file, the other source can be keyboard, the third source can be socket. Socket is actually some communication which will communicate your Java application with some remote machine. So through such sources, you will try to get the data, read the data. So the data flow, which is shown in the green color, is input. That is reached to the Java application. The Java application processes the data. It gives the output. That output reaches to one of the destinations, could be A console could be a socket, could be a file. By mistake, it is a keyboard over there. I'll change it when I'll be supplying you the PPT. So the red part shows the sample sources and the destinations. The green part shows the data flow, and the blue part shows the Java application. See the data flow, whenever the data flow is in binary way, then you have one category of subclasses. Whenever the data flow is in the character way, you have a different hierarchy of subclasses which will be useful for you all to capture the input from the users and generate the output. So, based on the various subclasses which are there encapsulated in the Java input output package, let's have a look at the subclasses. Again, I would like to tell you the Java applications use an input stream to read data from a source. It may be a file, it may be an array, it may be a peripheral device, or it may be a socket, or the sources can be many more which are listed over here. The Java application uses an output stream to write data to a destination. It may be a file, it may be an array, it may be a peripheral device, or it could be a socket, or it can be anything else. You will find that the class names are quite logical. You will come to know which is the source or which is the destination which is incorporated in a particular subclass when you look at the class hierarchy. So let's go ahead. You have Java streams, logical connections within the source to application or from application to the destination. So you have, if the data flow is in the binary form, you have one abstract class as input stream and the other abstract class as output stream. If the data flow is in the character form, you have one abstract class as reader and the other abstract class as writer. So this is the core hierarchy, how to differentiate the streams, and within the streams which have been differentiated depending on the data type, what is it that is called for reading the data and what is it that is called for writing the data is different based on the data type. Binary data flow as input and output, you have input stream as the abstract class, and you have n number of subclasses. Everywhere you will find that the last word is input stream and the beginning word is conveying you the kind of source from which you are trying to read the data. Same is the case with the output stream. First word conveys the destination wherein the data is going to get written, and the next word after it is output stream. So this is the complete hierarchy for input stream and the output stream subclasses, provided the data flow is in the binary form. Now based on this, we are going to walk through a code which gives you a clue as to how to handle a binary data from some input file and how to transfer that data from the input file to an output file and how to read the data from the output file. See, I have just shown you the subclasses. We have already had the videos on the exception handling. Now look at the code which we are going to walk through afterwards. You have so many inputs. One input is file input stream as a class. You have seen in the earlier slide. The next input is for file not found exception. The further import is file output stream. The next import is IO exception, and the class name is copy file. It has the main method and it has a throws clause followed by that. Now, this throws clause says that there could be a possibility of file not found exception which may occur within the statements which are given in the main method, or there could be a possibility of IO exception which may occur. Okay, so what is the first job? Since we are saying that the data flow will be in a binary form, we are going to create one object of file input stream and one object of file output stream. So file input stream is created. The argument required for creating the file input stream object is the name of the input file, which is input.txt. Remember, this input.txt is there in the source folder of the Project Explorer. You will come to know that. File output stream is instantiated using the file name, which is the output file. See, if these two files are not found at the appropriate path, you will get a file not found exception. That's why that has been incorporated in the throws clause. Then you have part of the program to read the data from the input file. Then the data which is read up to the last data value which is there in the input file. The moment the data is read, it is written in the output file. Then the logical connections which are opened or which are instantiated for reading the data from one file and copying that data into the output file are closed, and then the file input stream is re-instantiated for this time for the output file. Now you have to check whether the output file has got the entire data which was there in the input file or not. So the data from the output file is displayed. Okay, and then again the file input stream is closed. So this is the code which we are going to go through, and then that is all so far as the Java input output part in your syllabus is concerned. See, there are 2-3 websites which I have given at the beginning. You are going to go through faithfully the tutorials which are given on those websites, which will give you some more idea about the classes which are there, which will help you out for many sources to capture the data and many destinations to store the data. See, it's like getting yourself familiar with usage of the API which is available in Java for input output, nothing else. So this is a way in which you are going to learn the input output package which encapsulate various classes. So this is the end of the presentation. Now we'll have a walkthrough from the code. Okay. Now for the walkthrough, see, this is a file copy demo. When I elaborate this, I have the input file here. You will find that even the output file is also over here. Now initially you have some import statements, then you have the copy file part, then you have some code, and then finally whether you have to check whether the code gets executed or not. Okay, before that, ABCD is the data which is there in the input file. Now we have to check whether we get the output as ABCD or not. Let me run the file. file is copied. That statement was there over here somewhere. Data is copied from input file, which is A initially, then it is B next, then it is C afterwards, and then it is D. See what all constructors are there and all that we're going to look at by going through the tutorials, because everything is not possible to accommodate in the videos. Okay, yeah, thank you.